Hi guys, welcome to the channel again. Thanks for dropping by. Now, today's painting is of Whitby on the North Yorkshire coast in England, one of my favourite places, and apparently the Abbey, which we're going to be painting today, has got everything to do with that Bram Stoker and Dracula, hasn't it? I was there earlier on this year, sort of probably about February, late February time, yeah, and really cold day, but beautiful sunset up on the hill there in front of the Abbey, and I managed to get a photograph, and we're going to be using that photograph today for this painting. I'm going to go through the drafting phase. I'm just going to draw everything in. I'm going to do it in blocks to make things simple, because looking at this painting it could be quite complex, but what we've got to do here as artists today, painters, is simplify things, and we can do that firstly by blocking in the areas, which will help. Alright, so that's the drawing drafted in. That's my guideline for my painting. Very, very iconic building, so we've kept a level of character within the simplicity of this drafting, and that will help to hold together the painting as we move forward. We've done it in blocks. We've got a really foreground area here. We've got another bit of foreground to middle distance where the main subject matter is the building itself, and then over here we go into the distance, very, very distant horizon line over here and the sea, and we've got this blocked area for the sky, and we'll start with the sky first, as we always do. I'm going to take this into the very back horizon, because that will play a part in the distance, and it's got the same kind of tonal range and colour. Now, I'm not too worried about going over any of this here, particularly on this side, because this is the same side, and I'll show you later as we develop. background has dried, so we'll work into some of that middle distance now, and then we're going to work in some of the foreground elements, and then we'll have a look at the Abbey. There are buildings and things down on this distant horizon line, although it is middle distance, it's not the full horizon right over in the distance. But I'll treat those just very, very simply, with little amounts of detail, just a suggestion. So we'll treat that as one of our blocks that we talked about earlier, a block or a zone, which we've done throughout the painting so far. Even in the sky, you probably noticed that I was doing some block work in certain sections as we went along. I sectioned it out. Now for the sea, which is over in the distance as well. There we go. That's enough for the sea, over in the distance there. Now the way I'm going to tackle the Abbey is I'm going to look at it in 3 dimensions, so to speak, in that the light is coming from the west as the sun sets, which is coming over here. So this side of the building is going to be cast with a nice glow of sunlight hitting it, so to there. And then on this side of the building, that's going to have a certain amount of darkness, and the light and the dark will play together to give it the form. So the light will be there and the darkness will be there, and that will help to shape it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is put the darker elements of the abbey in now on both sides, and just a little bit of like brushwork just to indicate some bricks, simple, and that should come to life. I'm basically flicking in, just in the areas, the darkest elements of the building, the brickwork. We all want to be motivated and inspired, don't we? These feelings are what keep our creative engines burning. But to make real progress on our creative journey and to improve our skill levels, we also need to adopt practices and foundations that are both understandable and achievable. That's why I've created this channel and why I've made each weekly tutorial and exercise as practical and attainable as possible for you. Now, I can't promise to help you become the next Picasso, Van Gogh or Rembrandt, but I hope that I can ignite a spark inside of you that sets the creative fires burning and helps you become the artist that you actually want to be. A central idea on my channel is that landscape painting is primarily an act of interpretation, not mere duplication. The objective isn't to replicate the scene precisely as the eye perceives it. Instead, everything we observe, from the smallest detail to the broadest colour and shape, must pass through an interpretive filter. The final artwork, while resembling a landscape, is fundamentally a painting, not an illustration. It is a unique visual language expressing the artist's view of the world. This challenge of translation is most critical when dealing with the most basic elements of landscape: shape. The natural world is inherently chaotic and complex, containing countless shapes, from the tiny leaf or pebble on a beach to a vast skyline, which can feel visually overwhelming in its raw state. The effective method for translating this complexity onto canvas is not to meticulously capture every detail, but to reduce it into a manageable, simpler set of shapes and masses. This reductionist approach is the landscape painter's initial and most vital step. Now, paradoxically, this simplification doesn't lessen the overall impact. It actually enhances the painting, making the scene more understandable and compelling for the viewer. The landscape painter's primary role is reduction, simplifying nature's overwhelming complexity into clear, visually concise shapes. This is the most critical task. In painting, every expressive brushstroke functions as a distinct shape, defined against adjacent strokes purely by precise value and colour differences. Well guys, that's the end of that video, and Whitby, what a fantastic place that is on the North Yorkshire coast, overlooking the North Sea. Until next time, I hope you really enjoyed that one. Feel free to leave some comments if there's anything you'd like to know about today's painting, but until next time, I hope your creative journey is going really well for you. See you again soon. Bye for now.